The 2024 election cycle is looking out to be an interesting race. Despite the current president being an incumbent and running again for re-election, he is still having other contenders run against him, and polling at good numbers too. Marianne Williamson is considered a progressive liberal. She's a book author and strongly believes in leading with love, and ran for president in 2020. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is an extremely anti-establishment Democrat, nephew of the 35th President John F. Kennedy, and son of Robert Kennedy. JFK Jr. is seen by many as a more conservative Democrat. In the Republican field, former President Donald J. Trump is running again. He also has quite a few contenders running against him as well, however. Ron DeSantis by many is considered to be a variant of Donald Trump but without the baggage. He's considered to be not as out there and more tame, and more of presidential material as well. Meanwhile, Vivek Ramaswamy has gone on numerous news networks to talk about his platform. The primary takeaway from his platform is that he's extremely anti-woke and plans on taking woke society as he deems it head-on. Nikki Haley is the former governor of South Carolina and is running on fiscal responsibility, securing our border, and restoring our country's reputation. Senior James Ngolia had some opinions on a few of the candidates. In regard to President Joe Biden, Ngolia did not view him as a particularly strong leader.
I think he's not much of a president right now. He is more of a political puppet. He doesn't seem to be in a state where he's really making any policies for himself. He is just kind of following and doing what he's told.
In terms of his thoughts regarding former President Donald Trump, Ngolia viewed Trump largely as a populist.
I think a lot of what he was saying during his campaign and not while he was in presidency was to be more radical, to get the votes, to be able to become president. Because you don't necessarily need to follow through with your promises during your presidency that you made while you were campaigning. I think his speeches were more to appeal to the conservatives instead of trying to go with, the more progressive people.
You don't really think he himself cares as much about conservative or progressive and more about which base he thinks he could captivate more?
Yes.
In regards to any of the other candidates, the only one Ngolia knew much about and had an actually positive feeling towards was Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
I think he'd be a good candidate for president currently. Definitely opposed to what we have right now. I think he has some decent ideas as well.
Ngolia also had the following to say regarding if he would vote third party if the options were Trump or Biden again.
I think I would probably vote third party because I think there are some pretty good candidates in third party that isn't just the main two candidates running, Trump and, Biden.
Another student at Pattonville, sophomore Andrea Aguilar, had some opinions on the matter as well. In regards to current President Joe Biden, Aguilar had the following to say.
Well, I feel like right now, Biden is just not really doing much for the country. Like, he's just not really mentally there. He's just kind of in his own world almost.
In regards to her thoughts on former President Donald Trump, Aguilar had the following to say.
I feel like overall, he's not a very likable candidate. He's undergoing a whole bunch of investigations for crimes that, are kind of up in the air of if he committed, which most of them are leaning towards yes.
Additionally, Aguilar spoke on her opinions of Robert F. Kennedy Jr. as well.
I feel like he's a pretty good candidate. Kennedy's, have a line, and he's for the economy. He doesn't really like the CIA. He thinks the CIA killed his uncle. So I feel like he can do pretty good.
Aguilar also commented on her thoughts on Ron DeSantis.
I know that people see him as, super bad and everything, but I feel like a lot of his things are just really taken out of context. For example, the Don't Say Gay bill, that's not what it was at all. They just didn't want to talk about sexuality for kindergartners to third graders, which I feel like is perfectly fine.
In regards to the idea that potentially a third-party candidate could beat Trump or Biden, she had the following to say.
I feel like a lot of people don't like both Trump and Biden, so I feel like maybe this time around it could be likely or it could at least possibly happen that a third candidate could come in and, take the votes, but it really just depends on how the people decide to, get together.
In terms of if she would vote third party if the options were Trump or Biden, Aguilar had the following to say.
I would definitely vote for a third party. Because, regardless, Trump and Biden, they're both just, not that good. Either way, they're both not good. So I feel like a third party would just be probably the better option.
Currently, according to Fox News, Joe Biden is polling at 62% within the Democratic Party, with Robert F. Kennedy Jr. polling at 19% and Marianne Williamson polling at 9%. On the Republican side, according to the same poll, Donald Trump is polling at 53%, Ron DeSantis 21%, Nikki Haley 4%, and Vivek Ramaswamy 3%.